welcome back. I've been joined in the studio now by Ambassador Ademario Emmanuel. He's the Director General of CONISA, and he's to my right here. And to my left, I have Usman Nourani Mohammed. He's the team leader and CEO for Petals Info Links. He's also a youth advocate. Welcome to the program. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Let's start with you, Mr. Ademario. You were at that event, and you seem to have rolled out some sort of citizen-based assistance to the government. Tell us what brought on that decision.
Well, it is a known fact that for the past 3 weeks, the citizenaries have been faced with this challenge of not having access to the new Naira notes. Outside that, before the inception of the new Naira notes crisis, we also have the crisis of shortage of fuel, scarcity of fuel everywhere, then the escalating price. So it encompasses together, and it kind of becoming more of a serious challenge to the citizenry. And we felt that the numbers of manpower the Nigerian security architecture has does not have that capacity to reach out to really monitor these policies of the government for the betterment of the people that it is meant for. And we discovered again, just like I was a victim, I was coming back from Lagos. I got to Ibadan. I don't have cash, and I needed it badly, and I needed to have cash with me. I got 50,000 for 75,000 naira. That is how bad it was. And I felt within myself, how will a petty trader in the village have access of such, and what is going to be the gain that such a petty trader, an old woman, have at the end of the day if she engaged in buying a new Naira note at such exorbitant price? And we discovered that Nigeria is a country where every citizen will want to take advantage of present challenges to make it in all means. So looking inward, we felt that the government has not for once seen reasons why they should engage the civil society organization, especially CONISA, that has voluntary uniform organization and non-uniform organization as its member, whereby it is easier for the government to say, CONISA and the civil society organization, please, can you get us about 2,000 men, young men and women, to assist us in monitoring the bank, evaluate and give us report. Where the lapses are, let us know. So these are reasons why we have to come together, and among all the organizations, we now agree that we should have 25 among all the civil society come together as key players, as task force, to assist the CBN, the ICPC, the EFCC, Nigerian police, and other modern security agencies of the country to be able to make sure that this Naira scarcity, those that are holding it, are being exposed. That's number one. Then number two, to make sure that those that are now selling at a higher rate, whereby if you want to get 1,000 naira at the moment, you will get it for 200 naira. That you either pay 1,002 to get 1,000, or you pay 1,000 to get 800. That's the situation at the moment. So if this situation is not quickly addressed, the 2023 election that is just 12 days ahead is in question mark. Because one is this, that when there is shortage of money, people don't have access to money, people will not be able to travel to their different states where they will go and cast vote. It's going to be a serious challenge. Then the issue of fuel. If there's no fuel, how will vehicle move? Vehicle will not move. So, and the government at the moment, I want to say holistically that they are incapacitated, because most of them are focusing on the election. Most of them are contesting. Their friends are contesting. So they are focusing more on how their friends, their relatives will emerge in the forthcoming election without dealing with the problem proper. So, and God helping us, as at that Friday, where we made up our mind and we came up with a press release, press conference, and we send the names out both to the CBN, to the DSSS. The names of these 25 young men from different civil society organizations have been sent to the appropriate security apparatus in the country as I speak to you. But this we must get right, that the stakeholders who had meeting with the President Muhammadu Buhari, they were also in the same line with us, that if there is no enough new Naira note, then the CBN governor from discretion should be able to make available some part of the old Naira note and extend little, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, so that people will be able to master the situation and be able to run activities to also be able to help the election that is forthcoming, if really we want the election to hold.
All right. There's some follow-up questions I'd like to ask you, but before that, let me bring in Mr. Usman Mohammed here. I'm aware you also have your own connection of youths and so on. So I'd like to get your own perspective. How is this really affecting the youths out there, and what impact are you seeing it having in the elections just 12 days away?
Well, thank you for having me, Amadin. I think the issues are not far-fetched. We are all aware of the circumstances the country has been put into as a result of this policy of the central bank and many other policies. But for now, elections is in 12 days, and the seriousness of this matter cannot be overemphasized. I was coming from Gombe State to Abuja 10 days ago. I got fuel for 355 Naira per litre in Plateau State, Jos. I got the same litre at 350 in Gombe. It is only in Abuja that I discovered I was getting fuel for 195 Naira per litre. This is very serious, and it is affecting the grassroots. That is number one. Number two, from the commencement of the redesign and implementation, we don't have any problems with the policy as it is in principle, but the implementation process is actually wrong. It is full of error, such that even the central bank did not advance its advocacy and Naira swap to the local communities until about 7 days to the earlier deadline it issued for the seizure of use of all the other old notes. So the issues are clear. Businesses have been affected. Many of the youths who have, like he said, petty traders are petty traders. Some of them are young entrepreneurs trying to make ends meet, are being greatly and badly affected. One critical aspect that we seem to forget is the women. These local women in local communities that have been suffering from maternal mortality. We have not even addressed the issue of our healthcare challenges, issues of education. Now we are bringing in a policy that may end up plunging the country into induced recession, deliberately created by the government of the day. I don't know. I have never imagined a situation where you have fuel scarcity in January or February. We used to expect this in December. That seemed to have been addressed, but all of a sudden in January, February, we are having fuel crisis, fuel scarcity, Naira redesign. As long as these issues are not critically and carefully addressed in the next few hours, not few days, I'm telling you, we are cooking up something that would be worse than NSAS if NSAS is in any way a threat to the government. That's my point.
All right, interesting. When you mention in the next few hours, we have it that the central bank governor, Governor Emefiele, met with the president just about an hour ago, and at the villa. So hopefully we get some resolutions from that. So now I want to speak to your various solutions. You mentioned some sort of extension and thereabouts. I'm wondering, that extension, do you feel it should go past the election, or is it still sometime before?
Yeah, the truth is that it costs the CBN nothing if they can still proceed to at least print about 1 trillion
of the new note.
Okay. And how it will help is this: one, they have told us before now that they give 30 million each day to banks. Now, this money disappeared in the thin air. Disappearing in the thin air at the confine of the home of some set of persons as far as this country is concerned, to come out anything from 24th, 25th for the election. Now, it means that if we are not talking about extension, the technicality of the extension is that at least for this week, if people still have the opportunity to still spend the old Naira note, for those that have not taken theirs to bank, can easily still go round for people's usage. As I talk to you, if you are going to get 10,000 naira anywhere now, it will be a mixture of old note and the new note. That is the truth. So there is nowhere you can get the old notes completely in totality. There is nowhere. So the only thing is that the banks on their own are no more putting the old Naira note. So, but the way forward is this, that if the CBN should be wise enough, call, just like my brother there said, that the implementation, the civil society, those that could really carry this message to the grassroots were not carried along. The youth were pushed aside. So this set of persons, they believe that the youth are only good in being made use of for dirty job. When it comes to intellectual engagement and resolutions and follow up on policies, because most of these policies will fall back to the youth, not to these old men. Most of them spend dollars. That's the sincere truth. They spend dollars. So the solution is that one, the names we send to the CBN, whatever resolution they are going to have at the end of the day with the president, and when he's coming out, they should also understand that the youth should be involved in the drive of this policy, so that it can be able to go to the grassroots, so that the youth will be able to really sensitize themselves more again. Then lastly, they must understand that days to the election, the INEC chairman, the CBN governor assured the INEC chairman that he will make funds available for the INEC officials. What about the citizens? So why the INEC alone? What about those that are going to cast votes? How are they going to have access to this fund? And somebody made a suggestion that that the new Naira note should be given to the police for police to be sharing to people. No, it can work. Not every Nigerian has trust in the Nigerian police anymore, based on past acts in the system and the activities. So it is best that the CBN should proceed with what they are doing, but incorporate Nigerian youth into the system to make it more easier for Nigerian youth to go to every bank and address their fellow youth. Please be patient. Let us line up well. Let us follow up due process of the bank here. No, you know, when everybody is in order, it will be easier for the work of the bankers to flow well. But when there are noise, they will not be able to concentrate. They will not be able to do things fastly the way they should do. So these are part of the distraction. So when all these areas are addressed, I want to tell you, in less than 48 hours, things should begin to work well. In less than 48 hours. So, but the truth remains that for us to get it right as a country, whatsoever we are saying, some of these leaders, they felt they are making noise. But just like my dear friend said, that if this is not quickly addressed, what will happen next will be worse than answers. Do you know that there are some senators that cannot travel to their village? Their people are just set waiting for them, because they have not gone to enact law that could benefit them. They have not gone to enact law that could bring development. They have not gone to enact law that could help the educational system, our health sectors, that could even create job opportunity. So people are angry, and then bringing this again on board, so automatically their communities is not a hidden heaven for them. So to address it is for all of them to sit up at this critical point, 12 days to the election. Let them quickly address these issues, make money available, talk to their fellow friends who are petroleum marketers, that they should begin to sell at that rate of 195. That 195 is a parallel market price that government has stipulated. But some persons, as I talk to you, are still selling 300, 250, 220. Does it mean that police officers are not seeing them? Does it mean that the DSSS are not seeing them? But because everybody is hiding, nobody wants to be quoted. Because their principals are technically part of those that are aiding those people. So until we begin to speak truth to power, until we begin to tell them this is the right thing, like I do say severally, that the day the DSSS see any hidden thing about me, that day they can take me to hell. But in as much we are still living a sincere life, we are living to this point. we don't have anything to fear. We will tell them the way it is and we'll say it the way it is. But let them know that all of them must wake up to their civic responsibility in protecting lives and property. A lot of banks have been burnt down. A lot will still be burnt down if this issue is not addressed. A lot of roads will be blocked. People will not be able to go out to get food. And at the end of the day, I will shock you that all these provision shops are not safe. When people are hungry, they must look for means to steal. During the NSAS, you are aware that people were going to people's farm to go and harvest crops to be able to eat.
What about if the government takes this as threats? You know,
why would they take it as threats when they're already seeing the signs? The symptoms are outside there. It is not a threat. The symptoms, they are seeing it themselves on daily basis. They themselves can no more stand before the crowd to address issues. They can only address it on social media. They can only go to television stations. How many of them can gather people? I still remember sometime last year, we were supposed to hold a National Youth Security Summit alongside National Assembly. And later on, the speaker cancelled the program. That know that they got a security report that Nigerian youth were attacked at the course of the program, and that is how the program was cancelled. But this kind of program would have brought a lot of solution to the table. People would have been able to purge out their mind before the senators, before the representatives, and there the security agencies will know that these people were watching our weaknesses. They were watching our lapses. They already have our dirty knowledge right in front of them, and now it is for us to now take caution. This would have helped the country. But I want to tell you, these people, they are not ready to invite the youth that will tell them the truth. They only prefer to invite the youth that will tell them the otherwise, and those that will become political puppets to their paymasters. These are the kind of people they invite. They don't invite. Go and look at invitations that comes from different ministries and parastatals. They only invite cycle of some persons who will not say it the way it should be said. Let them begin to invite the rightful persons. I bet you, if today the CBN said, yes, I'm giving 30 million to banks, invite Peace Corps, War Boy Scout, Salvation Army, Asarudin, they are also uniform organization. With this 4 uniform organization, they have more than 2 million members on uniform. And with these 2 million members, they can monitor banks in this country successfully, alongside security agencies, and will have successes. They can easily go to all filling stations and monitor what happened in those filling stations and give report back. They are not going to take laws into their hands. They are not going to enact law. Theirs is to go evaluate and give report back to the appropriate agency, and for these agencies to be able to take it up. So these are areas. If these areas are looked into, my dear brother, I want to tell you, we will have a Nigeria of our dream in matter of years to come.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ademaru. Let's take it back to you, Mr. Usman. Still on the issue of solutions, I'd like to get your own thoughts too, because some persons are completely against it. We have the Governors Forum saying that basically this is a what was the word used? Recollection. Basically, they accuse the federal government of just wanting to collect people's money. You know. We've had Governor El-Rufai actually speaking to people and saying, don't worry about it, you know, we'll find something to do about it, you know. And in his recent comments, he says that he doesn't trust the people around the governor, the president anymore. So that being said, back to the issue of solutions. Are you, with the school of thought of those persons who say, stop it, just allow people return their money, however or whatever time. Take, for instance, the 100 Naira notes. There are 200 Naira notes now, and what happens is when the old ones get taken into the banks just give you, when they are giving, they give back the new ones. So you tend to see the new one more in circulation. So that being said, are you of the school of thought that it should be, something long that stretches, or just a little addition, or an outright cancellation of the policy?
Well, I think I wouldn't say I am against that. I will support any point that is reasonable enough to suggest to the government to increase time, to add more time for the citizens to be able to mop up, to submit these monies back to the banks. We are living in very interesting times in our country, and it calls for sober reflection. I want to believe that we are not, it saddens me to such an extent that we are not utilizing our diversities and human resources in Nigeria. The problem as this morning, if you have been privileged to walk through some of the banks in Abuja, you would notice that particularly Zenith Bank is shut down. I don't think they are open today. Other banks are going to follow suit. Some of the banks, I have been reliably informed, the bankers have told their staff, members of staff, to appear in mufti and not to appear in the usual dress code, because there is a serious security threat to these activities. Some of the issues I believe I understand is that we have not utilized a proper sensitization and advocacy process in this angle, and I will suggest that if time can be added, a bit more time. The 3 months was not bad if the CBN had pumped in enough cash. There was no problem with anybody submitting their money and getting the new notes back. But the implementation process, as I mentioned earlier, by giving a price tag and then not empowering the other sectors, such as the youth, as he has mentioned, if civil society organizations led by the youth would be involved, religious institutions can also be properly utilized. They are the persons that give sermons in churches and mosques. They have a large audience. Instead of us to use these institutions for sentimental political processes or gains, we can utilize them for national development, and this is what we are talking about. Proper sensitization, advocacy for the people. Students are in school, for goodness sake, in the universities and other tertiary institutions. You can utilize their student unions and organizations to make more advocacy while increasing the time a bit for them to know when and how they are supposed to approach this new policy. Lastly, we can take advantage of the fintechs. These people that are using POS, the other people that have opened fintech companies, can also be properly utilized to help the CBN drive this cashless policy. The cashless policy was introduced by the BOFIA, Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act of 2020. It is explicit, and everybody understood the motive and intentment of that act, supported by the law. But implementation process cannot just be knee-jerk, like just start it today and end in 3 days. No, that doesn't happen. We have to go to the grassroots, engage in more advocacy programs. The CBN has to step up its game and involve all critical stakeholders on board, especially the youth. He has just mentioned that using few indices, you can take up about 2 million people that will support and complement the activities of the Nigeria Police, DSS, ICPC, and other monitoring bodies to ensure the proper implementation of these policies. I think with these few suggestions and many others that could come from other Nigerians, we can be able to do more and achieve more within the time limit. I don't have any suggestion as to how long the extension should be, but we are at a threshold, and it is critical that the CBN considers extending this policy, this time frame, to ensure that everything would work smoothly ahead of the elections and even beyond.
All right.
Yes.
Just before we continue, I'd like to tell our viewers that our phone lines are now open, so you can call in to make your contributions or ask your questions. Let's talk about the political aspect of this. You've really laid down, some of the issues with implementation, but a lot of people believe that these things happened because there were certain targets the government was trying to meet. Take, for instance, the current. There seems to be some level of rift, so to speak, alleged rift within the ruling party, because it's now somehow split across the middle, with some saying being against the policy, almost as though they are opposition themselves. So the presidential candidate said the other day that even, quote unquote, even if they hold the Naira, even if they hold the floor, I will still come out victorious. And people said, who could be the they that he's talking about? On another instance, he says they took the Naira from 200 to 800. They don't know what they are doing. And people say, who is the they that he's talking about? And now we have his supporters also saying, that the Governor El-Rufai particularly says that there is a cabal in Aso Rock who do not want to see the APC win, and so they are encouraging these policies. What do you make of this political aspects to it, where politicians are feeling as though this entire thing is geared or, targeted at them somehow to, scuttle their chances at the polls?
Well, I think this is clear. Governor Umaru Fintiri of Adamawa State, a member of the People's Democratic Party, just 1 week into the announcement of the CBN's policy, he raised an alarm. He said, this policy is targeted at us, the politicians. I listened to an interview of the governor in Adamawa State talking to his people, saying that this policy is targeted at us. Now, moving to the APC, you have laid the foundation. El-Rufai, just yesterday, Wellcare, a popular supermarket in Kano State, was shut down by the government of Kano State as a result of the point that the supermarket refused to accept old notes. And as at now that we are talking, I don't know if anything has been announced, but there is no statement, official statement from the CBN, nor from the government as to whether to still accept. The deadline is already 10th. It remains as such as far as the law is concerned. Though there is a court process right now at the Supreme Court, pending hearing on the 15th of this month. Well, you cannot extinguish politics with the policy. Owing to the fact that the governor of Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele himself, was alleged to have had interest in contesting for the presidency under the platform of the APC. All right,
Mr. Mohammed, just hold our thoughts for a moment. Let's quickly hear from one of our callers. Good afternoon. We are on to the Polity. What's your name and where you're calling from? We lost that call. Please go ahead.
Okay. Godwin Emefiele, as I was saying, was one of the persons that was alleged to have had interest in contesting for the presidency. At some point, he had to meet behind closed doors with the president, and he came out and addressed the media, saying how could he have thought of contesting. Shortly afterwards, some power intrigues happened at the primaries of the APC, where we saw at the eve of the primary election, the national chairman of the APC, Senator Abdullah Adamu, announcing Mr. Ahmed Lawan, the Senate president, as the preferred candidate of the president. And many of the governors, such as El-Rufai himself and Ganduje of Kano State, were at the forefront of moving against that decision and to ensure that a proper primary was conducted where His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Tinubu emerged. So, of course, we can conclude that there is a rift in the presidency between supporters and opposers of the candidacy of Asiwaju. But to say that these policies are targeted exclusively against Asiwaju's candidacy, I don't know what intel the APC candidate and the APC handlers are using, but it may be sensible owing to the fact that the things are very, very much odd, happening, as I said, in February, January, and Professor Issa Sagi, the presidential advisor on anti-corruption, also stated recently that there is no official statement from the president, nor from the NNPC, nor from the CBN about all these things that were happening then. So it means there is an indication that some cabal, some power brokers in the presidency could be against the candidacy of the APC candidate. Also adding credence to the fact that His Excellency Atiku Abubakar of the PDP has been supporting the policy wholeheartedly. He said he has no problems with it. He is supporting the policy. Perhaps it is favoring his own candidacy and disfavoring the other candidate. But by and large, the policy is good. But implementation, every stakeholder in the APC or outside the APC agrees with the fact that the implementation is not properly conducted. Against the backdrop that petty traders, agri-commodity sellers, farmers are now pushed to sell their produce at a lower rate, lower amount than what they have spent or have suffered to produce those produce. And now they are selling them at a lower cost because of the cash scarcity. If you visit some of the restaurants too, because of the cash scarcity, they are forced to sell at a lower amount than the main amount that they were supposed to sell. So this is badly affecting the economy, badly affecting the political environment. I wonder how INEC, without the support of CBN, would transport election materials, non-sensitive items that they use NURTW and other road transport unions to states, because you need cash. Transfers, even the banking sector. We are now at the eve of launching 5G technology, but I don't know how your networks are working. But mine are as poor as you can think of. Banks, I cited examples with Zenith Bank, GT Bank, UBA, some of the banks, we don't have to mention all the names, but some of the banks are having serious challenges because there is congestion in their servers and they cannot operate optimally. This is not anticipated. It was not well thought out before it was reeled out to the public. This is my take.
All right. I'll just throw the question open. Do you think politicians complaining are admitting something without saying the words? I mean, if you feel this policy is targeted at you, aren't you implicitly admitting to certain wrongdoings? No,
the truth remains that for those that are complaining, the question is this. There were past challenges that Nigerians were serious in a tight corner. How did they come out? When students were at home for 8 months, where were these governors? This policy we talk about was enacted last year and were given 3 months. The question is this: where were these governors? Why did they sleep over it? Where were their advisors? Just like my dear friend says, this policy is a good one. In fact, good one that we could even celebrate President Muhammadu Buhari over. But implementation was very bad. Now, for those that are complaining, for me, I feel because most of them are still having this money in quantums at their confine, unable to really bring it out because there will be questioned that where is this money coming from? And some of this money already decaying. So now they actually need a window, not a door. Now they need a window they can actually use as an exit. Now, using the pain of the citizen as an excuse. But if this policy has favored them holistically, you will not see any of them coming out crying. But yet, all our plight is this: whether it is favoring somebody or is not favoring somebody, Nigerians and citizens are suffering. We need a way forward. And the way forward is for the CBN governor, those in charge of the fuel, should come on a round table as quick as possible. Relook into the issues, map out strategies on how this tension can dice down naturally. And it is when people will begin to feel that now you are coming on board in line with us, then the tension will begin to go down. But at the moment, I must tell you wholeheartedly that severally I have tried to make transfer today. It is not going. The one that went did not enter the account of the person, but I was debited. Now the person is feeling I did not send money, I am claiming them. So more enmity will be created at this point. Now there's any bank that is closed down at the moment. Now that the people needed them more is when they are closing down. So when this whole tension dies out, you now want to come back to business, we will ask you a question when that time comes. So, but what you are saying is this: for the politicians, for those that are celebrating it, they have their reasons. For those that are complaining, they have their reasons. All these people, to be candid with you, except President Muhammadu Buhari and some other few that has good intention for this country. I say it anywhere, any day, that President Muhammadu Buhari meant well for this country, but some set of persons are the one messing up what this man wanted doing for us as a country. How far this man would have driven our economy, our system, our policy, our government, and all that. But yet, we still survived the 8 years, despite the challenges in it. But this 2023 election is very, very important and very, very critical. So nobody should take advantage of this present predicament of ours and use it for his own good. You quoted His Excellency Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, a kind of his words in Ogun State, where he actually came out to express himself that this policy was made because of him. Yes, but the truth is this, that myself and you, we agree that it was a coincidental thing. This policy is good, but the fact is that it came at the wrong time, when Nigerians are passing through hell, when the economy is not stable, when things are bad, our electricity is not working proper, fuel is not there, but this same fuel we take to other country and sell in cheaper rate, but yet we that owns it, we are suffering, we are in pain. So all these areas should be well looked into. So when it is well looked into, we'll have the country where we can be bold to say, yes, I am from Nigeria. But in conclusion, for those that feel that it is against them, they understand that they are having one hidden money that they are yet to take to bank, because they felt they could use their power, but yet they discovered that people were already washing. There were a lot of people monitoring banks up and down. In fact, I want to tell you, there are some people that for that period, people were going to stand in bank gates looking at vehicles that are coming in and what they are offloading. I'm telling you, people, in fact, people will just go, they don't have anything to go and do in the bank. They'll go and sit inside the bank taking pictures of those that come with huge amount of money. For those politicians that were wise, they were pushing those money to POS people. If you collect 1 million, you may either pay, if you collect 1 million, you will come back and pay back 900. So 100,000 go back to you. So the 10 million like that. So that is how some of them were. These are the strategies they used. And in this new Naira note, what they did was, if you are able to get 500,000 new Naira note, they will pay you 50,000 Naira for successfully getting the 500,000 Naira note for them. So, and that is why some of these new Naira note disappeared from the face of market. So, in conclusion, we must know that Nigeria is the priority of our government. Yes, my brother, you can take, because I know you have one or two things to chip in from that angle.
Yes, exactly. I think the other angle is what we have not looked at is it is natural for the downtrodden, so to say, to speak out or to protest.
Yes.
In this case, I am referring to the governing party, APC. Apart from the fact that, yes, we believe, even in the interview of Governor Nasiru El-Rufai, he alleged that a certain high-profile Nigerian was having access to over 500 million of this new Naira notes. What I don't like about us Nigerians is we always shift blame at the leaders. We don't look at ourselves. Some of these POS operators are selling this money, as he has just mentioned, getting 50,000 Naira for 75,000 Naira. How did they come about adding that money? If the bankers, when issuing those monies to them, added an amount, then it means it is a chain of insincere, corrupt persons.
Yes.
You go and you pay bribe to get the new, because it's just new, changed color, you get the money, you pay money, then the person that will give you also pays.
Exactly.
It's a chain. So it is natural for people like El-Rufai, because they have seen that the policy is affecting the chances of their party and their presidential candidate. Yeah. You may not understand what I'm saying if you don't visit the local environment. Yeah. Before the policy took off properly, so to say, APC strongholds in the north and in the south, there was no problem. Everything was just moving well. Asiwaju, Emilokan. Before as soon as this policy started taking effect, banks were having queues unnecessarily, propounded by the queues at the filling stations. Many other things just started to turn around. That was why they had to voice out. It was affecting the chances of the party, and they had to speak out. even though they have not spoken out on other issues that related to the poor directly, but this one is very critical. In less than 1 month to elections, and they are seeing dark light, they have to speak out. That is the other angle that we have not explored. Yeah. But by and large, as we've said, the elections is a blessing in disguise for Nigerians. Yes. Because if the elections were not going to be conducted as soon as possible, this policy, there is every likelihood that the tempo would have been sustained by the president. If you know what I'm talking about, Mr. President is such a person that has white heart, very clean-minded gentleman. I come from the Northeast. I can tell you without fear of contradiction that those of us in northeastern Nigeria believe that President Buhari has done well for the country, because we have seen almost the end of what used to be our nightmare, the Boko Haram insurgency. I wouldn't speak for other parts of the country, but one thing is clear: the president's commitment and the people that are surrounding him. We don't know what happens. On many occasions, things would be going left, and the president would not take the appropriate decision at the right time to ease or ameliorate the pains of Nigerians until it gets worse. We believe this time around would be different. We have 12 days more, and I told you I still insist that in the next few hours something has to be done to assist the poorest of the poor, irrespective of any political affiliations or political interests. The president is not concerned about his party or his party's chances. Of course, naturally he has to be, but he's not looking in introducing this policy, in approving it. He's not looking at whether APC would win or it would lose. He is after the well-being of Nigeria and promoting the economic fortunes of the country. That is our belief, and we believe he's going to do what is right in the right time.
All right. Any final words before we go on a break?
Well, my final word is the governor of CBN, the chairman ICPC, the chairman EFCC, the IGP, the chief of the chief of defense staff, and the DGDSSS. Our documents have been forwarded. They are free to come and vent us before we proceed in assisting. And we just wish that the meeting between the governor of CBN and President Muhammadu Buhari should be for the interest and for the benefit of the general citizen. We are so hopeful that 2023 election, which is in just 12 days time, is going to be one of the best elections so far Nigeria will ever experience. So things should be put in place and properly put in order, so that as at when we are entering 27th, when there will be announcement, we will still be able to still hold on to ourselves as one unified country. Because this election is very, very critical. This election, if not properly managed, can maim us as a country. If it is properly managed, I want to tell you, the unison of this country remained and will remain forever. So these are my messages.
All right, we'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we head into another dimension of the conversation. Thank you very much. We'll be right back.